14M0565, proceeding on the motion of the Commission to investigate the energy affordability programs delivered by the utility companies in New York State. This part of our day is informal. It's an information session where my colleague, Marty Insonia, to my right, is going to give a presentation on what staff of the Public Service Commission developed as a white paper to describe utility low-income programs that are in existence and what we are going to be proposing consideration about making changes to those programs. That white paper is out for public comment, and the reason why we're traveling around the state is so we can do a formal public statement hearing and hear from consumers and interested groups about what the staff developed and about low-income energy issues. We can bring that back to the Commission. This portion, the first hour, will be dedicated to Marty and Sonia giving a presentation about the white paper. And after he's done presenting, 20-30 minutes maximum, there'll be a Q&A session so people can ask any questions you like about it, further clarification. But the formal public statement hearing will start at 3 o'clock. We'll be on the record then. People can make public statements on mic so that we can record everything you say and make sure that the Commission gets that. That'll be at 3 o'clock. At 6 p.m., we'll do the same thing over again. Marty will do a presentation. We'll get an opportunity for folks to hear what is being discussed. And then at 7 o'clock, we'll do the formal public statement hearing. Are there any questions before we start? Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate it. Marty, take it away.
Thanks a lot, Michael. Good afternoon, folks. As Mike said, the basic setup for today is an information session that lasts an hour. I'll go over what's in the staff report, what we propose for Commission consideration, and put out there for public comment. I'll be available to answer any questions that you might have about what is in the staff report. And then promptly at 3 o'clock, we'll start the public statement hearing part of the program. And that's where you folks have an opportunity to speak on the record straight to the Commission. Sorry if you couldn't hear that, but again, just the way it lays out for the program is an hour information session and then a public statement hearing. So sorry if you couldn't hear that. A little bit of background. The Public Service Commission does have a long history of providing low-income programs. The first low-income program in the state was in 1988. That was at the Brooklyn Union Gas Company. And we have low-income programs today at every electric and gas utility in the state. Annual budgets today are about $128 million, and they serve about 1 million electric and gas customers across the state. In January this year, the Commission opened this proceeding to take a look at these low-income programs. Each of the low-income programs at the individual utilities today was designed in the context of a utility rate case, which means really the only folks that were involved in developing those programs were folks from that utility service territory. So this is the first time that we've had an opportunity to kind of take a really broad look at low-income programs, the way they're designed, the way low-income assistance is delivered, and to try to determine what our best practices, what's the best way to design a low-income program for a utility. This is part of the Commission's Reforming the Energy Vision, or REV proceeding. One of the goals of REV is to keep the cost of energy affordable for all customers, including low income. This particular part of the proceeding is focused on financial assistance programs for low income customers. So that's really the topic of these programs. I want to just talk a little bit more about the context of Reforming Energy Vision. REV is really an opportunity to take a top-to-bottom look at the way electricity in particular is produced and consumed and billed for in the state. Right now, the electric system is basically a one-way system. We have generation plants over here, customers over there, and transmission and distribution lines that connect the two. More and more, increasingly, customers are installing solar panels on their roofs, windmills, microturbines, different ways of producing electricity in the home or in the household or in your business. And that really is turning into a two-way system where electricity is produced all over the place and has to be transported over the same network that was really designed as a one-way. So it's really an effort to look at the system and to look at what changes need to be made to accommodate these new developments in the industry. This proceeding itself is part of a even broader effort by the state and by the governor to address low and moderate income issues across the state. There is a working group that is developing a number of proposals. I'm not going to go into all this stuff in detail, but just to give folks a sense that there's an awful lot going on in this space. I wanted to throw this slide up just to show where we've come from in the last decade. Over the last 10 years, low-income programs at energy utilities have gone from annual spending of about $40 million to today about $128 million. And the participation has grown as well. One thing you can see from this chart is that while both have grown, the budgets have grown even faster than the participation. So some simple math will tell you that we're not only serving more customers, but the average benefit per customer is growing as well. We really think programs to address the needs of low-income utility customers are essential. Energy costs are a large burden for low-income individuals and families. Statistics tell us that the average middle or upper income family spends about 1 to 5% of their income on household energy costs. For low-income customers, that percentage is much higher, 10, 20%, and even more. As a result, many low-income customers cannot afford essential services like electricity and natural gas. Many times these families are facing heat or eat choices, or choices between purchasing needed medications or paying the utility bill. The challenges are even greater for low-income customers when they're using electricity or gas to heat their homes, because loss of heat presents an additional set of health and safety risks for low-income families. In addition, low-income families tend to live in older housing stock. It's not as well insulated, drafty windows, older, less efficient appliances that use more electricity, and that puts even greater pressure on those families to meet these bills. And finally, while we have been in an economic recovery, to a great extent that recovery has been slow to reach low-income households. The jobs are just not there for the low-income sector. So we certainly appreciate that low-income households are in a very tough spot, and that's why we think these programs are extremely important. I wanted to throw this slide up because it really is showing graphically the dramatic increase in energy burden as income levels go down. The figures on the far left are the percent of federal poverty level. Federal poverty level is extremely poor. For a family of four, federal poverty level is around $19,000. It's extremely hard to make ends meet with a family of four with that kind of income. So if you're at 150 to 200% federal poverty level, your energy burden percentage of your income that goes to your household energy costs is around 9% on average. But as that percent of poverty level goes down, in other words, as your income goes down, the energy burden increases dramatically. And this was the insight that kind of was the key to the way we thought we should approach the design of low-income programs for utilities, that it really should take into account the household income. It may seem obvious that low-income programs are important for low-income households, but we also think that utility low-income programs can be a good business strategy for utilities. Helping low-income customers pay those bills helps utilities and their customers, including the other non-low-income customers. Why? That's because utilities carry a large percentage of their costs in terms of collection costs, carrying charges on arrears, bills that aren't paid, termination costs every time you have to roll a truck. So these are all costs that utilities face as a result of having to collect unpaid bills that end up being paid by all the ratepayers. These are the kind of costs that can be reduced with the effective implementation of the low-income program. Some of the things that we've looked at as issues in low-income program design are, well, the first group are the things that I kind of think of as sort of the nuts and bolts of low-income programs. Who's eligible? How do they get enrolled? What's the benefit look like? How is it structured? What are the budget levels needed to support it? The other thing that we took a look at were sort of the question of how do you tell whether a low-income program is working effectively? How can you tell if it's doing a good job? And some of the things might be obvious in terms of reducing unpaid bills, reducing terminations. But some of those other benefits, like the reduced collection costs that the utility faces, and how do you weigh those different categories of benefits, the benefits to the households and the benefits to the utility and the other customers. So those are some of the things that we were kind of struggling with as we went forward with this. So just what got us to this point, we've talked to a lot of people, including a lot of experts in low-income program design, both across the state and across the country. And we gathered a lot of information. We put it in a staff report, which was issued on June 1. And the report has a lot of information in it. We took a look at income levels and energy poverty in New York. We took a look at the low-income programs that are in place at the New York utilities today. We took a broad look at low-income programs in a lot of other states that are doing it in a variety of different ways. There's a lot of information about all of this in the report, but really the heart of the report is our straw proposal, which is kind of our idea for, okay, going forward, here's what we think might be the best way to design a low-income program. So that's really kind of the heart of it. That's the focus of the report. Issued on June 1st, as I said, we've had a couple of rounds of written comments. The written comment deadline has been extended. It now runs through October 16th. So some of the dates that are on my slide are actually a little old, because we have extended that comment deadline. And there's also this process of going around the state and actually talking to folks. We have 4 of these scheduled. This is the 3rd. We have 1 more that's scheduled now in New York City. And there's the potential to have hearings in other locations as well. And I think these public statement hearings are very important because it was important for us to talk to experts on low-income program design and to hear what they had to say. But I think it's also important to hear from customers, and particularly, especially low-income customers, because low-income customers are the folks who are the focus of these programs. So how can we know whether or not we're meeting your needs if we haven't asked you? So this is a very important part of our information gathering process. We're glad that you're here today. So our straw proposal is kind of designed around certain guiding principles. And I'll just take a minute to talk about what we were thinking. First, that the program should be simple. Simple to understand, simple to explain. That makes them easy for the utilities to administer and low cost. One of our goals was that every dollar that's collected should go to a customer benefit. We don't want to pay utilities to run the programs, so basically make them simple to operate. And it's also beneficial because a simple program that's simple to understand is also simple for the customer to understand what benefits are available. It's not a complicated or confusing thing where you don't really know what you're going to get. Programs should generally be available to the same eligibility guidelines that are currently used in the state for the Home Energy Assistance Program, or HEAP, and that is 60% of state median income. State median income is around $44,000. The 60% of state median income is about $34,000. I don't know if I have those numbers exactly right. That's approximate. And that's actually much higher than what many other states use, which generally go on the basis of federal poverty level. 150% of federal poverty level is used by some states. 200% of federal poverty level is used by some states. 170%. We figure that 60% of the state median income roughly corresponds to about $218,000 18% federal poverty. So in other words, we're allowing a higher, larger portion of the income to be included as eligible for the program than many other states. The program should automatically enroll eligible customers. Again, we want these programs to be simple for the utilities to administer. We want to pay them to run the program. We want it to be simple in its intake. We also don't want the customer to have to do anything yet. If they're eligible, they're in. It should work just that simple. Programs should confer a meaningful bill decrease for participating customers. That may seem obvious, and obviously some people can differ on what a meaningful bill decrease means. But we do have many programs today that the benefit is, $2, $3, $4, $5 on a monthly basis. It's really not enough to give a meaningful benefit to customers. And the cost of the program finally should be borne by all classes. We really do think that making energy affordable for everyone, including low-income households, is something that in the end benefits us all as a society. So we don't have customers who are in the cold, in the dark. So I'm going to get into it each one of these in a little bit more detail. First about eligibility enrollment. Again, eligibility should be automatic for all utility heat recipients. Eligibility enrollment really is the one of the foundational issues in the signing loan program. It's one of the toughest ones to crack. We really struggled with this. Ideally, I think, in an ideal world, we would like to reach more customers than just the customers who apply for utility heat. But there's two things about using utility heat as a basis. One is it's very easy for the utility to identify those customers and automatically enroll in the program. The second thing is that if you're a customer who's applied for the utility heat benefit, you're showing that you're experiencing energy poverty. And that's possibly different than someone who's applying for Medicaid because they can't afford medical bills, or food stamps because they can't afford groceries. If you're applying for utility heat, you're basically saying, hey, I'm having trouble paying my utility bill. So we thought it was an appropriate place to start. There are some programs today, and the most notable exception to that is Con Edison. Con Edison actually doesn't get very many heat recipients. Basic reason is because most low-income customers in New York City live in high-rise apartment buildings where heat's included in the rent. And so actually what happens is they can apply for heat, but it doesn't go to Con Edison, it goes to the landlord. So Con Edison doesn't get those folks. So the only way we could really identify the low-income population in New York City was to go beyond heat. And that's why the Con Edison program does that. It's also fairly easy for Con Edison to do that because they only deal with two social services agencies, New York City Human Resources Administration and the Westchester County DSS. For other utilities that have service areas that cover multiple counties, it's much more difficult to set up those kinds of matching processes with many, many different counties. Now, we would be interested in setting up a statewide matching process that maybe uses the social services roles for the state OTDA, which is the state agency that governs the local departments of social services. But as of right now, we don't have agreement for OTDA to do that. We're certainly open to doing that in the future. What we're saying today is that the program that we put on the ground should automatically enroll all utility heat recipients. If a utility, such as Con Edison, has a program that enrolls other customers, it's okay to keep doing that. If you're a utility that wants to manually enroll other customers, in other words, if you have a customer that came to the utility and said, hey, I didn't apply for heat, I didn't get it, but I would qualify for heat, can I get your program? The utility said, sure, we'll sign you up. So if they want to do a manual process like that, that's okay, we're just not saying you have to do it. And ultimately, if there was a possibility to set up a statewide matching process, we would be open to that as well. One thing to caution about that, though, is that there always is a balance between how many customers you enter into the program, how big the benefit is, and what the costs are of other customers. Just to give you some idea of the order of magnitude, the utility heat recipients are probably about a quarter of the heat recipients across the state. The vast majority, about 2/3, are rent, they receive the renter's benefit when they live in New York City. So we're already getting those folks. But there's another large contingent that receives a heat benefit for deliverable fuel, such as oil and propane. The utility doesn't get that information. They're not being added today. We could only pick those up with a statewide matching process. But that would have found, if we added the renters and we added the folks who get the deliverable fuel benefit, that would increase the program enrollment statewide by about a factor of 4. And if we were to go beyond heat recipients to everyone who's at or below 60% state median income, that would double it again. So we'd be faced with serving about 8 times the number of customers that we're serving today. We'd have to think about how that would balance in terms of how much we're asking other ratepayers to pay. The benefit levels that we proposed in the straw proposal would be amounts that are set to achieve a 6% energy burn for the average participant. So we asked the utilities, what's your average customer bill, heating customer and a non-heating customer, electric and gas. So there's 4 different amounts. And then we figured out how much that bill represents 6% of the household's energy bill. Now that 6% is going to differ based on the household's income. We have, we think, a way to identify 4 different levels of income. And it's basically based on the way you receive the heat benefit. If you get a basic heat benefit, it's $350 for the utility heat benefit. And in order to qualify for that, you have to be at or below 60% state median income. If you are at or below 130% federal poverty, which is a much lower level of income, you get an add-on to heat. It's an additional $25. It's not a lot, but it does identify you as being a lower level of income. If you have a vulnerable person in the household, that's someone who is either over the age of 62, under the age of 6, or is elderly, blind, disabled, then you get another add-on. If you have a vulnerable individual household and you're at 130% federal poverty level, you get both add-ons. And then finally, if you are on public assistance, which means that your bill is direct vouchered by the Department of Social Services, the utility also does that. So we can look at heat with no add-ons, heat with 1, 2 add-ons, direct voucher, and we can say that there are 4 different levels. So for each of those 4 bills that I was talking about before, electric heating bill, electric non-heating bill, gas heating bill, gas non-heating bill. So that's 4 different discounts, and each one of those has 4 different levels. So it's actually 16 different discounts at each utility. Sounds a little complicated, but for the utility to program that into their billing system, it's really not that bad. So it's a fairly simple setup. Just to give you an idea what the discount levels are, obviously for National Fuel, there's only a gas discount, there's not an electric discount, but what we did for National Fuel customers is we looked at what the electric bill is for Niagara Mohawk, which is what most National Fuel customers have. There are some that are in Jamestown and some that are in NYSEG territory, but we use the Niagara Mohawk bill because that's the most common. And we still wanted to make it a combined electric and gas bill that would be 6% of that household's household energy bill. So again, those 16 discounts, 8 for National Fuel because there's no electric, but they would range between $0, because actually if you're at that level, your bill is already at or below 6% of your household income, all the way up to $42. Just to give you a sense of how that compares to National Fuel's discounts today. The discount today for National Fuel customers, they actually have 2 programs. The basic program, you get $12.50 a month, and that's only during the winter months, November through May. These would be year-round discounts. And then they have a program that is based on income, but it's completely different from what's in the straw proposal. It's only open to a very small number of folks. The company decides who gets in. This would be open to everyone who receives a utility benefit.
Those are monthly figures?
Yes, sir. That's a discount rate. I've got this loaded up for all the cities we're going to be at, so I've got other folks' discounts on here as well. Now, if we implemented this program today, the program budgets across the state would go up by about a third. So again, we're at around 130 million today, so we'd have to be around 180, 175, 180. So that's the kind of increase that it would take to put, if we did put staff proposal into effect today, that's where we'd be at. We did propose, sorry, my mistake. We did propose a funding limit. This is something that's gotten a lot of attention from folks. But again, this is our effort to sort of balance the needs of the low-income households with how much we're asking other households to kick in for that benefit. We picked numbers. You could argue about whether they're the right numbers or not. But we're asking $20 per household per year from other customers to pay for this program on the electric side, and then $35 per household per year on the gas side. Gas costs are a little bit more expensive because gas tends to be the heating fuel that most low-income households use. So the cost of that program will be higher. Yes, ma'am.
Will this program that you're trying to do stated involve the lesser utility companies like Kiwi Energy, Major Energy, and people like that? I mean, they come knocking on the door and you sign on and with the same promise that you're going to have lower utility bills.
Thank you. That's a great question.
So, if they're the supplier and not National Fuel, how will that affect?
That's a great question. The lady asked, the folks who may not have been able to hear, the lady asked whether, how the discount would work if you were taking electricity or gas from a different provider, not from the utility. Let's say from, I think you mentioned Kiwi Energy as one, but ESCOs, as we call it, energy service companies. What we've done is we based our discounts on the utilities full service. And then if you want to take commodity service from a provider, another provider, you get the same discount. If their bill is less, then on a percentage basis, your discount is higher. I guess if their bill, if their energy, if their electricity or gas is more expensive, then on a percentage basis it would be less. But you still have choice. You would not be denied the option of having choice. You could still choose. And if you can save money that way, then you can still get the discount. Your discount would not be reduced. Thank you. That's a great question. Yes, sir.
Where you mentioned the $20 for customer, for end-use customers, do you have any plans on differentiating between residential and commercial customers and making an allowance for the large differentials that commercial customers can be using when it comes to energy use?
That's a great question as well. Thank you. And again, for folks that may not have heard the gentleman's question, he was asking whether those budget limits of $20 or $35 take into account differences between residential and non-residential, that is commercial or industrial customers. And the answer is no. In the staff proposal, the way we proposed it, we would simply count heads. We would count customers. So if you had 100 customers, your utility, imaginary utility with 100 customers, your budget limit would be, for electric would be $2,000 and for gas would be $3,500. So we wouldn't care whether those 100 customers were industrial customers, commercial customers, or residential customers. It doesn't matter. We're just counting heads. As far as how that $2,000 or that $3,500 would be collected in rates, we didn't say a whole lot about that. So it could be, I mean, I guess we're thinking it would be collected volumetrically, and since commercial and industrial customers use more, they might end up paying more than residential customers. But we really didn't go into that in a lot of detail. It was basically just a way to set up a budget limit to say that's how much we would be willing to collect. Again, we also proposed a floor. So the way the budget limit would work is that we bumped into it and said, well, we can't really get a 6%. We can't get to a 6% energy burden and keep it below $20 to $35. So maybe we got to go to 6.25% or 6.5% or 7%, or whatever the case may be. But we would never go above 10. When you get to 10% energy burden, that's the limit of what we would ask the low-income household to shoulder. And even if, to get to that level, we had to go above $20 or $35, we would do so. So in other words, the floor trumps the ceiling. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I'm just concerned that there's a lot of administration that appears to me this is going to require. If you have to be looking at what the energy burden is being borne by a person who can use the general assignment, then you have to be getting income information from that customer, for all those customers, all the time. Every year, you're going to have to redo that. Somebody has to process all of that. That's going to add to the cost of mounting this initiative. Has that been taken into account in how you thought this thing through?
Yes, sir. And again, for folks who could not hear the gentleman's question, he was asking whether we taken into. He said this sounded a little complicated, and wondered whether we were taking into account the complexity of administering this. And sir, based on the written comments that I've seen so far from utilities, they agree with you. They think this is complicated and a headache. We don't agree. We think that, it's certainly not more complicated than many other programs, many other rate programs that the utilities have. And we think that essentially once they write computer programs to do all this stuff, it'd be fairly simple to figure out. I think what we were trying to avoid was a situation where the utility had to sit down with each individual customer and sort of individually work through their income and expenses and figure out what discount they needed. So that's the part that would have been very complicated. So figuring out the discount, which again, 16 sounds like a large number, but again, they kind of just fall into buckets. The utility, all they have to do basically is look at the heat payment they got. They know which bucket you fall in. And then they already know whether you're a heating customer or not a heating customer. So you just get one of those discounts on that basis. And I think, again, once they write the software, the computer program, to do all this work, it could be fairly automated. Yes, ma'am.
So you're trying to accomplish a flat rate according to the annual income of each family, and it's going according to their income that they have most of the time. And if it changes, then the discount will change. And the flat rate will be the $35 per customer discount, depending on the income. Is that what you're saying? I think I'm
Not exactly. And again, for the other folks in mind, I'll try to repeat your question, which I guess I sort of heard two-part question. One was the $20 to $35, and just take this opportunity to clarify that's the limits of what we would ask other customers to pay for the program. So the discounts are actually these charts back here. So that the $20 and $35, that's what we ask other customers to kick in order to pay. And then the other part of your question, sorry, I can't remember your question. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, thank you, that's good. Let me just go back to that. Just a minute. So let's just say you've gone down and you applied for heat. And you have a child who's under the age of 6 in your house.
Right.
So you get a $375 benefit. You get the basic benefit of $350, plus you got one add-on. So the company knows you're in tier 2 on the benefit, because that's tier 1 is no add-ons, tier 2, 1 add-on, tier 3, 2 add-ons. Tier 4 is if you're on public assistance, they get the direct voucher. So you would be in tier 2, regular heat plus 1 add-on. And let's say you're a gas heating customer. So your discount monthly would be $14 a month. And that would be independent of how much you use. That $14 was based on what the average customer uses. Okay. And how much that costs, and then say, how much of a discount do we have to give to get that down to 6%? If you use less than that, then you'll actually get a bigger discount on a percentage basis. If you use more than that, your discount will be smaller, because the discount stays the same. It won't vary with how much you use. And one of the things we were thinking about there is that for households that use a lot of electricity, a lot of gas, really what we think they need more than a big discount is they need energy efficiency, they need weatherization service.
Yes.
So that, for those folks, there's a different approach. This is a financial assistance piece, but we can't lose sight of the fact that it's got to work together with energy efficiency and weatherization.
Right, and then that's when the landlords come into play. Because if you're renting, you can't make major changes to people's property. And to try to get the landlords to put in energy efficient appliances and different things that you might need, and the proper windows and filling in all the cracks so that the heat is not running out of the house in the wintertime. How do you do that?
That's a great point. And again, just for other folks, the lady's making the point that when you rent, you don't own the premises that you live in. Now you're dependent on a landlord to make efficiency decisions about, well, this fridge is kind of old and, it's very wasteful on energy. It's time to upgrade to a newer fridge that's more efficient, or to do the weather sealing around the windows and things like that. So, I'm sorry, thought I heard another comment. So those are important things to keep in mind. Again, that this particular piece of it, we're kind of focused on the financial assistance and the discount piece, but we can't lose sight of that.
Can I just ask a quick question? Did I understand you say that for a certain class of people, the discount would be a flat $14 a month for gas? That would be the discount? Now, in Buffalo, typically people are paying somewhere near $350 a month, sometimes more, per month. The renting places, and these places I deal with in Buffalo, have an average monthly bill of $100 over the course of the year. It's more than nearly $4 a month for gas. If one set of customers is paying $20 and the end consumer of the discount is $20, I'm not understanding that. That doesn't sound like that's a very balanced and useful. I don't get it. What am I missing here? $14 doesn't seem to me, for all of the apparatus we're talking about, it doesn't seem to me to be enough benefit. And you're actually you're asking more of the people that are paying than is going to the people that are receiving. I don't see how that makes sense.
Well, I guess it's two, again, so that you sort of raised two issues, and I'll try to repeat them again for other folks. Try to remember both this time as well. But one is that folks are paying in $20, but many are only getting 14, or sometimes less. Some will get more, but some will get less. But what we're doing there is we're collecting $20 annually from everybody, and then the program participants are getting $14 per month. So you could keep in mind the difference between $20 a year versus $14 a month. Second part of your concern, I think, was $14 doesn't sound like a lot. For many folks whose energy bills are $300-400 a month, I assume you're talking about in the winter, not year-round.
If you average out the bills for people that are getting $525 gas bills during the winter for 4 or 5 months, and they get now significantly lower than that when you average it out over the course of the year. They're talking $350, $400, $425. I do a weatherization program. So we actually calculate what the impact is, who we're serving, what the pre-treatment costs were, and what the post-treatment costs are. In terms of that being a monthly figure versus an annual figure, is $20 that is being paid by customers, is that an annual figure?
That's $20 is an annual figure, the $14 is a monthly figure. But not to lose sight of your point, which is, I think that many customers, the $14 was based on, we asked Energy for your average customer, what's an average over the course of the whole year, not just in heating, but over the course of the year, on average. What's your average heating customer's bill? What's your average non-heating customer? Non-heating is usually a cooking customer. That's usually somebody that lives in a multi-family building, heat's included in rent. The only thing they're paying for is gas to cook. So you got gas, non-heating, then you got gas heating. So we asked average gas heating customer and non-heating customers, what's the average monthly bill? They told us. And then we said, how does that compare to 6% of a household? And we use a typical household. We use a household of 2 people, all right? So that is the HEAP guideline for a household of 2 is a monthly income of $2,869, just under $2,900 a month. And what was 6% of that monthly figure? How does that compare to the average monthly energy bill? And it turned out you had to discount that bill by $14 to get it to 6%. So that's put into the calculation. Now, you did say that many households use much more than the average. This is true. Some of those households had more than 2 household occupants because household energy usage, well, it's dependent on a lot of things, but one big thing that it depends on is how many people live there. So if you got a household with 4 occupants, 5 occupants, 6 occupants, they're going to use more than a household that only has 2. That also would raise their monthly income to be eligible for HEAP, right? So they no longer are limited to $2,900 a month. They might be making $3,400 a month, $3,600 a month, and they can still qualify for HEAP. But you wouldn't have to pay that customer's bill down as far to get the 6% of their energy, of their household income, energy bill, because they're making it. So we think that it tracks fairly well. But again, that's the reason that we're out here is to hear from folks. If you don't think that will work, I want to hear from you, I want to get it. I know I'm short on time because we have to start the hearing. I have just a couple of other slides that I'm going to just breeze through. One big piece of many programs in the state today, not all, but many programs in the state today have a piece that's called arrearage forgiveness. That's not a discount on this month's bill. It's saying the balance that you carried from bills in the past. And we thought it didn't make sense to discount this month's bill if you're going to get shut off anyway for a large balance that you carried in the past. So many utilities do have arrearage forgiveness, and Energy does have such a program. We really don't think there's a lot of good information out there about how to do a arrearage forgiveness right. We think that in many ways, the way the programs are run today benefits the utilities and always benefits customers. So we really want to take another look at that. But we were reluctant to say, utilities can't do it. So we did lay out some ideas for just some basic principles that we thought made sense on how to do such a program. And we're just saying, don't spend a lot of money on that piece. No more than 10% of the total budget. We'll try to better understand how to do this. Another thing that's a feature of many, but not all programs, is a reconnection fee waiver. NFG does not have that program today, but other utilities in the state do. National Grid and Niagara does. So if you're a low household and you've been shut off for non-payment, and now you've got to scramble over the $150 to get the service back on, and you get service restored, and the next month you get socked with a $60 reconnection fee. So it's kind of adding insult to injury. So many programs today do have a reconnection fee waiver. Doesn't mean there's no reconnection fee. It just means that it's being paid by other customers. It's picked up as a cost of the program. And on the face of it, this looks like a good idea. But we looked at data for these programs, and what we saw was kind of alarming. Utilities in their comments have told us that we didn't look at it the right way, and it wasn't actually what we were thinking. But it kind of looked like the utilities that had a reconnection fee waiver were actually more aggressive in shutting off their customers than utilities that didn't. So our idea instead is no reconnection fee, not a waiver that gets picked up by the customers. Just utilities can't charge a reconnection fee to low-income households. So that's the concept that's out there. Again, the utilities weren't exactly thrilled about that, but that's what we're doing here for taking comments. And there's a few other things that we covered, just thoughts and ideas that people had that we thought we needed to talk about. Again, I'll only talk about hear if folks have questions. Yes?
You say that in the first slide, you said you wanted to use HEAP eligibility, but then you say that only HEAP recipients are actually going to be able to qualify for this program. So of all the people who are HEAP eligible, about 30% actually receive HEAP. So those, and of that 30%, you say a quarter of them are utility recipients. So how many people are you talking about of all of the people who are eligible under HEAP that are actually going to be able to qualify for this program?
First of all, thank you for saying that loud enough that I didn't have to repeat it. Appreciate that, thank you. Let's see if I can remember the numbers well enough. There's about 300,000 households in the state that receive a utility heat benefit. I believe it's 343,000 received one last year. So those would be the core of our target population. But as I mentioned, the utility programs today are serving about 1 million electric and gas customers. And most of that difference, there are some other utilities, again, that manually enroll customers and do other things. But most of that difference is because Con Ed is doing a broad sweep. They are providing a discount to customers that receive any one of, it's like 7 or 8 different programs, food stamps, SSI, veterans, disability veterans, spouse, and so on. Again, for them, they couldn't really use HEAP because they don't get it. And also, they only had 2 social services agencies that they had to work with to set up this sort of matching process. So, 343,000, based on the numbers I've seen, ma'am, I think your estimate is pretty well on target. There's maybe about 30%, maybe about a third of the utility of the households in the state that are eligible for HEAP actually receive it. So there's a much larger group of customers who could get HEAP, but either they didn't apply or they applied, but the money had already run out, so they didn't get it. So there is a problem there, and we're not really sure how to solve it. The answer, it seems to us, would be to set up some kind of statewide matching process, so that we can match up with a whole menu of programs like Con Ed. So if we can do that across the state, do it cost effectively, we would be interested in doing that. But right now, we don't have the means to do that. So we're saying you got to walk before you can run, and the walk would be start with the customers who know, the ones that you are, that you can identify them that you are here, and then let's see where we go from
If you have the data that says that 70% exists, how can it be so difficult to actually find them and sign them off and make them recipients?
Well, I think it can be difficult. Just to give you a different example, California, we receive much more in HEAP than almost any other state. Just because we're a very populous state that also has very cold weather. So there are other states that have very cold weather, but they're not as populous as New York. There are other very populous states, but they're not as cold as New York. So our sort of unique combination makes us the #1 HEAP recipient of any state in the union. California, with actually a larger population than us, receives about 1/3 the amount of HEAP funds that we do annually, and they serve a much smaller number of households. So in California, they told the utilities, that's what you have to do. You have to go out and stump and find these folks. And the California utilities spend an astonishing amount on outreach to try and reach these households, these families. And they have been at it for, I believe their program went into effect in, I believe the legislation was passed in 1999 and went into effect in 2001. So they've been at it for 14, 15 years. And the best utility in the state has figures they've identified about 50%. So they still got 20% to go, and they've been at it for 10 years. And the low end in California is about 75%. So it's, on paper, and say, that's what the census data, that's what the statistics tell us, but actually going out, finding those folks and getting them signed up is, another matter.
Are you considering it a different way of identifying them, like through social services?
Well, that's our gold standard, yeah, for sure, would be to have some sort of a statewide matching process, like what Con Ed does for the whole state. So that would be kind of what we would hope for.
Is that part of the straw proposal?
Well, the straw proposal is before the Public Service Commission. The commission can only do what the commission can do, and the commission can't tell the Department of Social Services what to do. So we're kind of at a dead end. We actually asked OTDA, which is the statewide Department of Social Services, we actually asked OTDA to consider this, and they sent a letter to the commission that basically said, we're willing to talk about it, but we think utilities already have an awful lot of information about local customers and their service territories. Kind of a polite way to say no. So we're still talking, but until that happens. And again, we've told the other utilities, if you want to have a manual process so that you enroll customers, as they come to you, we're fine with it. We're not telling them you can't. We're just not telling the other utilities you have to do it. Yes, ma'am.
I'm on set income, and I qualify for heat. But to go to heat once a year, but they don't pay all of your bill. So what happens is, by the time you try to catch up with your bill, you get another final notice, just like I got on my gas. You don't never catch up with your bill, and heat doesn't allow, and neither do y'all. So what good is what you're saying to me if I'm still in a dilemma about my lights and my gas? Now, if I got to come up with an ample amount of money for them to keep them from turning my gas off in November. Now here it is trying to get cold all over again. Now I got to go through this dilemma all over again. Now I'll go to heat. I'm going to tell you what they're going to do like they always do. You're going to pay that little amount of money. They're going to have you call the gas company, put you on a budget. You never catch up with the budget. You know why you never catch up with the budget? Because the bills never get lower. But the bills stay just as high, and it's like you're stuck in this trap you can't get out of. Your bill never gets paid. Even when they put you on your budget, your bill never gets paid. All it does is add on to the fire, is what it does. So what I want to know is, what I'm fighting for is, I hear you, but I need you to hear me. When are y'all going to take a stand and lower our utility bills? I'm tired of going through this drama. I got to go through it again next week, just to keep them from turning off my gas.
Well, yeah, I'd like to just step in and say, first of all, thank you for everyone's questions and thoughtful suggestions, particularly the woman who just spoke. I want to offer you the opportunity to say that again on the record in the public statement hearing, because we would like the commission to hear what you just said.
I will say.
And I think that's great, and we appreciate it, because those are the kinds of comments that will help us thinking about what's really going on, so we thank you. So I want to thank Marty for taking the time to develop this presentation and present to you what is being discussed and thought about, and to hear your comments and questions. We're going to take a couple-minute break before we start the public statement hearing, and then we'll formally get on the record and work through your comments. And again, I thank Marty for the presentation. I really appreciate him coming out to Buffalo with me to present this and to help facilitate.
And I just want to say for the folks here for your time and attention.